Okay, before we call the meeting to order, I'd like to read a statement from our Governor, Greg Abbott, regarding the Open Meetings Act. On March 13th, 2020, Governor Greg Abbott issued a declaration of emergency as a result of the COVID-19 virus outbreak. Subsequently, on March 16th, 2020, pursuant to the authority granted in the declaration, Governor Abbott temporarily suspended the application of certain provisions of the Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, in order to permit telephonic open meetings. This was an effort to mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 virus by avoiding large group meetings while still ensuring continued governmental operations and preserving transparency in the decision-making process. Pursuant to this authority, Tarrant County College District gave notice of its intent to conduct today's work session meeting as a telephonic and video conference open meeting. 6 trustees will participate in this meeting by video conference or telephonically, and I'll do the roll call at the same time. If you would respond by indicating your presence. Ms. Teresa Ayala.
Present.
Okay. Dr. Diane Patrick. Dr. Patrick. Here. Okay.
Here.
Dr. Michael Evans.
Here, sir.
Dr. Gwendolyn Morrison.
Here.
Mr. Greenhill.
Here.
And Mr. Kenneth Barr.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. If a trustee's face is not visible, he or she will state their name before making any comment during the meeting. So, Ms. Ayala, if you would take heed to that, I would appreciate it.
Certainly.
Thank you. And we're going to call this monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees of June 18th, 2020 to order. And we do have one public comment, and if Carol Bracken would like to read that, please.
Good evening, President Heed, trustees, Chancellor Giovannini. We've received a comment from ICE out of Tarrant that they've asked us to present to you. As many of the TCCD board members may have heard, DACA was upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States on this monumental day, although it provides for an incredibly much-needed win for the undocumented communities of this country, especially those being persecuted by ICE in Tarrant County. The fact still remains that many members of the TCCD community, including students, staff, and even faculty, are still vulnerable to persecution because not all members of this community are DACA recipients, and as such are still subject to deportation procedures. As every month when the Coalition addresses the TCCD Board of Trustees, the Coalition always feels compelled to bring up the fact that Tarrant County still remains involved in the racist 287G agreement, which was renewed for another year this past Tuesday, June 16th, 2020, despite over 7 hours of public comments advocating for the agreement's termination. Over 1,500 signatures from community members and months of advocacy work by concerned community members. The Coalition also feels compelled to bring up the fact that no members of the TCCD Board of Trustees elected to set up a meeting with ICE out of Tarrant to discuss the agreement. Through 287G, Tarrant County continues to collaborate with ICE through the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office, which allows deputized jailers within the jail to perform duties normally delegated to ICE, such as questioning the legal residency status of any person that they believe is undocumented, and when identified as undocumented, are issued an ICE detainer. This creates different problematic issues in regards to the undocumented communities of Tarrant County, including making them subject to racial profiling by law enforcement, eroding trust between the undocumented communities and local law enforcement, hindrance of due process of law, and several other issues. The Coalition ICE out of Tarrant demands that the TCCD Board of Trustees begin the process of discussion to adopt a sanctuary campus resolution for TCCD to ensure its undocumented communities are free from persecution by ICE and other entities that wish harm upon them via family and community separation. The coalition is always open for further discussing this idea with any board members who wish to create a meaningful dialogue on this issue. You are all welcome to reach out to us via email at jonathanguardian1216@gmail.com. We hope to hear from you all soon. Best, Ice out of Tarrant.
Thank you, Ms. Bracken. Item 13, board business items and announcements. We need to approve our work session minute meetings of May 14th.
So moved.
By
Michael Evans.
And a second by
Diane Patrick.
Diane Patrick. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye, this is Teresa Ayala.
Yes, thank you. Item B, approval of the Board of Trustees meeting minutes from May 21st, 2020.
So moved. Michael Evans.
Sure.
Okay. Motion by Dr. Evans, second by
Bill Greenhill.
Bill Greenhill. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion
Aye,
carries.
Teresa Ayala.
Motion carries in both cases. Item 4, consideration and approval of consent agenda.
Sorry, Mr. President, you skipped item C.
I'm sorry, item C, trustee activities. And I'm going to lead off in there too. We had an incredible opportunity a few weeks ago to commission some U.S. Army officers that were attending TCU and Baylor and some other colleges as well, and we provided them the facility and AV and all kinds of cooperation to allow them to commission 71 second lieutenants in the U.S. Army. And I just want to thank the Chancellor, the entire administration, particularly the AV and the IT department, as well as the police force. There was a lieutenant colonel, which is a senior position in the Army. She actually came up through the community college system and got her opportunities through the military. And she was just amazed at the incredible cooperation that TCC gave to them. They were in a rough situation, and we handled it extremely well. And so that's number one, and that may lead to additional opportunities for TCC students in the future. So thank you so much for doing such a good job. And Dr. Morrison, you have an activity.
I do. Thank you so much, Mr. Heed. You know, TCC has a history of being on the cutting edge of forward progress, of doing the right things. And I've asked that a couple of optics be shown to you that will give a glimpse of that evidence. And that remains our challenge today. You will recall that we, back for the entire month of February, had the I Am a Man exhibit here at the TCC Trinity River campus, thanks to the Chancellor and the district administration staff, as well as Dr. Sean Madison and his wonderful team on the Trinity River campus. It was a wonderful exhibit, enjoyed by many students, faculty, as well as people from the community. If you saw this week's New Yorker magazine, you will see that there was a mention of that on that front page cover. And I just wanted to use that optic to show you how much on the cutting edge we are. We've always been. We remain to do that. That remains our challenge today, beginning with me. I'm hoping that we can keep moving forward and remain in lockstep with the progress that we make to each other, to our constituents, to push the college forward. And I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate the Chancellor on something I saw him participating in this week. He is a member of the Board of Directors of North Texas LEAD, which is North Texas Leaders and Executives Advocating Diversity. And he accepted the responsibility of board secretary for that very important organization. So I wanted to just say how excited I am to share in that opportunity. And I also want to invite each of you to join me tomorrow in the celebration of Juneteenth. Some people call it 19th of June, but it is a day commemorating the day in 1865 when African Americans in Texas received notice that they indeed had been freed from slavery. And you may want to walk alongside Miss Opal as she walks from the convention center to Will Rogers, or you may want to watch her on live stream. There are many other activities. And had it not been for COVID-19, we probably would have been hosting some of those events on TCC campuses. But thank you, and I appreciate this time to share with you.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. Okay, item 4, consideration and approval of the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, I wanted to also just make some remarks regarding activities and otherwise. Is now the time for that?
Yes.
All right. Just to my fellow board members, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the Chancellor for his leadership, of course, on these matters, the very ones that Dr. Morrison discussed, the ones that she highlighted today. And I want to join, of course, with my fellow board members with support on the remarks that our Chancellor has made over the past few weeks. And I do want to say, and I think it's important for me to say that Mr. President, the past few weeks have been quite challenging, to say the least. For the first time in a long time, board members, I participated in a number of podcasts, protests. As a matter of fact, we had one of the largest protests, peaceful protests in the history of the city of Mansfield. Over 3,000 people participated. On tomorrow, I will be a part of hosting actually a Juneteenth webinar entitled A Community Conversation on Race Relations. And all of this, of course, to speak out against racial injustice. And as a Black male, I am a proud member, of course, of this board. And I want to make it perfectly clear that I am honored to serve alongside of each and every one of you as we strive to make educational opportunities available to all people. And I can say myself that no matter the person's race, gender, or religion, we have definitely been diligent in those duties, and I truly look forward to the activities and or statements that will come from us collectively in the future. So thank you for that, sir. I appreciate you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. Item 4, consideration and approval of the consent agenda. And let me just preface that by saying that in all these items that we're going to be considering under item 4 and 5, the board has met last week in our work session and has discussed these in great detail. We've questioned every single one of them and got good answers from the staff. And so if it seems like we're going through them rather quickly, it's because we've already done our due diligence work last week. So in that regard, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second by Michael Evans.
Okay, I think Mr. Greenhill was the first to make the motion, and Dr. Morrison, I'll take yours as a second. All in favor? Fine. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. This is Teresa Ayala.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Okay, item 5. Consideration and approval of individual action items. A, consideration and approval of ratification of letter agreement with Gordian Group, Inc. for district job order, contract, products, and services and associated future expenditures in an amount of up to $300,000 not to exceed. Ms. Alanis.
Yes, this is a continuation of our existing agreement with Gordian Group, Inc. to assist in the management of our job order contract program through the end of the year.
Any questions, discussion?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Greenhill, a second by
I second the motion, Michael Evans.
Michael Evans, and all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Item B, consideration approval of contract with Jacobs Engineering Group, Inc. for the development phase of the owner's representation services to manage the November 2019 bond projects, the amount of $324,983. Ms. Alanis.
You may recall that as a lead up to the bond program, we committed to the public that we would engage an owner's rep to manage the program and ensure that we were able to come in on time and on budget with our bond program. I've got a slide deck just to answer a couple of questions that came up last week at the work session. And I wanted to share with you that we actually went through a request for qualification process, and we had an evaluation team that's listed here to evaluate the responses that we received. And if you'll go to the next slide. The process was, and actually the information I sent out to you, I inadvertently said request for proposals. I intended to say request for qualifications because this is a professional service. And essentially we received 6 responses to that, and we scored them and interviewed a short list of 3 firms. And the request for qualification process requires us to identify what we believe is the most qualified firm and thereafter negotiate what the pricing structure will be. So the selection process is not based on pricing. So we conducted interviews with each one, follow up with each one, and then ultimately we are recommending that Jacobs was selected to begin negotiation. We were able to meet each of the people who were on their proposed staffing of the support. The next slide shows you the criteria by which we evaluated them. So you can see that there's a formal process that they're aware of on the front end about how much weight will be provided to each of the characteristics of their firm, including, I'll note down at the bottom, their commitment and plan for an MWBE program. You'll note here that it's 15% of the weighting to decide on the most qualified firm. However, Jacobs has committed to a 35% commitment as part of their contractual obligations that we're working towards. So I will share with you a little bit of their related experience managing bond programs in North Texas in the recent past. And what we are recommending to you at this point is to do this initial 4-month contract to allow them to get up to speed on the work that's been done so far. As you're well aware, we've got a number of consultants and contractors in place on some of the larger projects like Northwest and Southeast campus redevelopments. And it will allow us to negotiate and determine what the appropriate staffing level and structure is to integrate into the services that we have at the college and ensure that we can reach a deal. So we'll return back to you, I suspect, before winter break to recommend a longer term engagement for them to be with us throughout the duration of the bond program. Be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Alanis, I've got a question for you. And again, thank you, especially during the work session, you laid this out to us. I just have a question, and I'm asking it for the sake of the public. In regard to the management and oversight of the MWEBs, could you speak just a little bit about how do we police that, just to make sure that the firms are actually utilizing these minority firms? Could you speak a little bit to that, how we do that as a campus?
Sure. So we have an internal program that's managed by Andre McEwing, who part of his responsibility is not only to educate everyone on the process, as well as make sure that the opportunities are made available to firms to become aware of as they bid to subcontract on various projects. He is also responsible for overseeing their subcontractors, their actual utilization and payments to those subcontractors and so on. And he oversees that as part of the process before we release any final payments to the primes in those instances. The benefit of having an owner's rep on this as well is that they'll bring resources also to support that process and allow us to ensure that we're having sufficient outreach events, that we've got a web presence where we're providing advance notice of the upcoming projects across the year so that we can encourage as much participation as possible. So it'll be a partnership between Andre as well as the members of the Jacobs team that will make sure that we achieve that goal.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any further questions, discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Michael Evans.
Dr. Evans, a second by Mr. Greenhill.
Dr. Patrick.
Okay, Diane Patrick, Dr. Patrick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Teresa, aye.
Okay. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item C, consideration and approval of contract with Tubbesing Services LLC for uninterrupted power supply equipment maintenance services for the college district in the amount of $439,200.
Yes, and this is a contractual arrangement for a firm to help us maintain and ensure compliance and operable efficiency of our power supply equipment across the district. And in response to a question last week, I included in an email a very lengthy list of the various equipment across all of our facilities that's included in this program.
Questions, discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Michael Evans.
A motion by Dr. Evans, second by
Second.
Dr. Patrick. All in favor, aye?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, this is Teresa Ayala.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item D, consideration and approval of purchase with General Datatech for IT switches and wireless access points, parentheses, WAPs, parentheses, for the district staff relocation project in the amount of $443,587.05.
Yes, this is a part of the overall project to relocate administrative staff to the Trinity River campus, and it's included in that overall project budget. This is the technology required to ensure that we've got a sufficient wireless network, and essentially it'll be designed with the latest equipment to ensure both capacity for future users as well as mobility of staff as they're able to use some of the specialized huddle spaces and conference spaces in the new facility.
Questions, discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I motion approved.
By Mr. Greenhill, a second by
Second, Michael Evans.
Dr. Evans. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Teresa?
This is Teresa Ayala. Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item E, consideration and approval of the construction contract with TD Industries for compressed air system upgrades at the power plant building on South Campus in the amount of $266,658.
Yes, this is associated with the installation of compressed air systems to support both welding and upholstery programs and to avoid the usage of temporary compressors. And so it'll make it more reliable and safer to support those programs.
Questions, discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval.
Motion for approval by Mr. Barr, second by
Bill Greenhill.
Greenhill. All in favor, aye.
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 Teresa? All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item F, consideration and approval of contract with Freedom Construction LLC for the renovation of learning centers at the Health Sciences Center at the Northeast Campus in the amount of $190,992.59.
Yes, this is just the ongoing renovation program that we have for classrooms across the college.
Questions, discussion? Entertain a motion.
Move approval, Gwen Morrison.
Move for
And I'll
approval
second it.
by Dr. Morrison and a second by Ms. Ayala. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Hi, this is Teresa Ayala.
Okay, all opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item G, consideration and approval for contracts with Facilities Solution Group to upgrade LED lighting at Northwest and South campuses in the combined amount of $852,318.68.
Yes, this, a big component of the 2019 bond program included upgrades to our MEP infrastructure across the college, and this is one element of that with LED lighting improvements.
Questions, discussion, comment?
Move approval.
I second. Michael Evans.
A motion for approval by Dr. Morrison, a second by Dr. Evans. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay.
Teresa Ayala, aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Item H, consideration and approval purchase with Rexel USA Inc. for electrical transfer switches on the south and southeast campuses in the amount of $111,056.
Yes, and this is also part of the MEP upgrades as part of the bond program. And this is one element of two larger projects that are happening on the south and southeast campus for electrical system upgrades.
Questions, discussion? I entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Michael Evans.
Mr. Greenhill, a second by Dr. Evans, I believe.
Yes.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Aye, Teresa Ayala.
Thank you. Item J, consideration and approval of contract with International Consulting Acquisition Corp., parentheses, DBA ISG Public Sector, parentheses, for a current state assessment of an enterprise software implementation service provider evaluation in the amount of $810,346 not to exceed.
So I think that we may have skipped five.
Something's going on here.
I think
Yeah.
we missed
I'm sorry. We skipped item I. I'm sorry.
aye.
I put a check mark. Okay. Consideration and approval of contracts with Pathway Communications Ltd. for various audiovisual supply and installation projects in a total amount of $229,332.
Yes, and this is these are classrooms that you've previously approved for construction to support programs that are proposed, and this is the audiovisual component of those projects.
Move to approve.
Move approval by Mr.
Michael
Green,
Evans.
second by Dr. Evans. All in favor, aye.
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 Aye, Teresa Ayala.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, back to item J, consideration and approval of contract with International Consulting Acquisition Corp., parentheses, DBA ISG Public Sector, parentheses, for a current state assessment and enterprise software implementation service provider evaluation in the amount of $810,346.
Yeah, so as we've discussed, the college is embarking on a replacement of one of our core software systems that it has about a 20-year life cycle, and so we haven't replaced the system in about 20 years, and it's the backbone for our human resources activities, our finance activities, as well as our student records and processes to manage all of those interactions. And so it's a significant factor in the overall operations of the college to manage. And so staff has recommended that we engage a consultant that is agnostic on the product that we would ultimately select, but to help us understand and develop our requirements for a software program, develop an RFP to select that software program, as well as to go through an RFP process to select an implementer to help us integrate this system into the other functionality of the organization. Because of the magnitude of something like this, we think it's important to have that professional advice on the front end. We have engaged this firm because of their vast experience and quite frankly, members of their team and this organization have participated in hundreds of projects like this across the country in aggregate in their experience. They've got a lot of experience in Texas. Most recently with UNC, we've also spent time talking to the University of Arkansas system about a similar role that they have played with them. And each of those organizations not only had very positive things to say about this specific firm, but they were also very strongly in favor of this approach in order to ensure that we've got a really good handle on what the cost of implementation will be in the long run. The intent is to save time and money as we work through the overall implementation. But I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
Questions, comments?
For the purposes of discussion, I would like to make a motion to approve, just for purposes of discussion.
Okay, motion to approve. Mr. Greenhill.
Second the motion, Michael Evans.
Dr. Evans, is there any further discussion?
This is Teresa, y'all. I just have a comment to make, please, if I may.
Yes.
Yes. So I just want to say I appreciate all the efforts by staff for compiling this information and for following up on the various questions that we posed relative to this. And, you know, I'm a huge advocate for having the most up-to-date technology to ensuring the student success, and I think this assessment is warranted. I do believe, though, that we have a responsibility to explore all options for the overall evaluation of the program. So I just would, at some point, like to share some recommendations that I think that moving forward, as this board is presented with IT-related expenditures in the future for approval, that, you know, we look at some things to, particularly around policies related to procurement, that those be evaluated and maybe highlight those where we can revisit them and maybe just see if there's some areas that we can streamline this engagement process and then present those to the board. Maybe that, secondly, we could just, overall staff could just review the overall framework or process for monitoring the status of institutional IT products and services, particularly as they approach end of life, and present that process to the board. And then I think finally, during institutional IT strategic planning meetings, that there be included in the agenda a review of those products and services that are approaching end of life, and when possible, present those to the board as far in advance as you possibly can with any anticipated procurement considerations. So those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chief.
Thank you, Ms. Ayala. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, nay.
This is Teresa Ayala. Okay.
Motion carries. Item K, consideration and approval of resolution and amended and restated participation agreement to extend Tarrant County College District participation in the Arlington Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 1, downtown.
Yes, and you all received a briefing on this last week that you're aware that this is an existing tax increment reinvestment zone that staff is recommending that we allow to be extended for a 20-year period now that they've got more traction with the projects there. However, we're reducing our participation from 100% to 50% with the cap. I will note that in the body of the board memo, as well as the resolution, we would like to offer a clarification to ensure that that it's abundantly clear that we're talking about increment of maintenance and operations tax levy and not the INS rate. And so I have forwarded to Trustee Barr a suggested motion to allow staff to go make those corrections to the permanent record. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, discussion? Mr. Barr.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, I move approval with the following amendment. The narrative in the board memo and section 2 of the resolution shall be amended to clarify that the incremental tax revenue includes 50% of the maintenance and operations tax levy rather than of the entire ad valorem tax rate. I so move.
We have a motion, a second by
Michael Evans.
Dr. Evans. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay.
This is Teresa Ayala, aye.
Thank you. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Monthly financial report. Ms. Salanese.
Yes, and so pretty straightforward. As reported last month, we've already received the lion's share of revenue for the year, so we're at 93.4% of that revenue, and we'll keep an eye on that through this summer. Our total expenses are at 67.6%, so we actually are incurring some budget savings. We anticipate that's the result of us not having our campuses open to the public and reduced travel and meetings and things like that. And so we'll continue to evaluate that. And in August, we'll be able to share with you what our projection is for year end.
Question on that is, do we anticipate any decrease in the percent of our receipts because of the economy and all of that related activity?
So my understanding is that the summer enrollment is fine, and so we don't anticipate a reduction in tuition revenue. There is some outstanding, a very small amount of property tax revenue that could be at risk of not collecting at this point. However, we'll keep an eye on that, but it would be a minor amount based on the time of year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then secondly, we have the investment report as well that just gives you a sense of the yield is at 1.23% at the end of May, and we continue to have a large holding, obviously, in pools at this point. So be happy to answer any questions.
And what do you anticipate the yield doing in the future with the interest rates, discount rate going down to pretty close to zero?
Well, I mean, you know, we're in a very conservative portfolio to begin with, and so I don't know that ours will move very much. And so I don't know that I've got a crystal ball for that, but we're obviously invested in very conservative investments.
All right. And what's the accepted inflation rate at this point? Do you have any idea?
That I don't know, but I can get you an answer for that.
Okay. I suspect it's more than 1.3%. Item 7, Chancellor's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Heed. We have a staff introduction this evening, and Dr. Blankenbaker will do that, please.
Yes, Dr. Giovannini. President Heed, Chancellor Giovannini, and members of the board, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jan Clayton as the new Vice President for Student Development Services at TCC Northwest. A little bit about Dr. Clayton. She was a Senior Presidential Fellow and Senior Student Affairs Officer at Tulsa Community College in Oklahoma. A veteran of 24 years in student services, Dr. Clayton headed a division with 8 departments and more than 300 employees. She also led the creation of an enrollment management department, expanded the diversity and inclusion program, created the college-wide staff development program, and was a leader in securing funding for the college's first Student Success Center. One of her projects was the completion of 3 additional Student Success Centers and a student poverty initiative to support student success. Dr. Clayton received her doctorate in educational leadership from Oklahoma State University, and in 2006 was named a Robert Cam Fellow at OSU. She served as Vice President of the Tulsa Metropolitan Meals on Wheels Executive Board, was named a Thomas Larkin Leadership Fellow in 2018, and was a 2016 YWCA Tulsa Women of the Year Pinnacle Award recipient. Dr. Clayton joined Tarrant County College at the Northwest Campus on June the 1st. And I'm going to move away from the camera, keeping a 6-foot distance, and allow Dr. Clayton to remove her mask and say a few words. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Tarrant County College District Board of Trustees and Chancellor Giovannini. It is an honor to address the board and express my sincere thanks for allowing me to serve as the Vice President for Student Development Services at the Northwest Campus under the capable leadership of Dr. Zarina Blankenbaker. It's been an exciting 3 weeks. I have inherited an outstanding leadership team and student services department, and I have joined a talented group of vice presidents for student development services and met great colleagues all across this college. Tarrant County College is a higher ed leader, not just in this region, but around the country. So thank you for the opportunity to be a part of the vital student success work that you are doing and to help advance our 3Gs and our 8Ps.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, Jan. Thank you. Mr. Heed, I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge and commend the resilience of the faculty and staff over the recent months. We've employed multiple measures during this challenging time and to ensure that students are connected with, we remain connected with them, and that their needs above all are being met. And the proof of these efforts is that we are serving more students this summer than we did last summer. We have much ahead in preparing for the fall, but I can say genuinely, I'm proud to work alongside such committed faculty and staff to enhance our students' development and meet our community's need. Thank you all, folks.
Thank you, Dr. Giovannini. And I would like to begin the accolades by commending you for your tremendous leadership through all these trials and tribulations that we've gone through. And you issued a statement here last week, and I think it's important that everybody hear this, and I would like to read this in its entirety. This is from Dr. Eugene Giovannini. To the TCC students, faculty, staff, and community. The same year which began amidst bright-eyed hopes for a new decade has instead become a maze of uncertainty that has most people feeling unsettled. COVID-19 has caused all of us to have to re-examine and revise how we live, learn, and earn to keep ourselves, our family, and our community healthy and safe. Ever-involving news reports about the pandemic have kept many off balance, and trying to navigate our way back to normalcy has meant weighing certain risks against that which is essential for our community to stay strong. Yet we cannot be strong when our society is fractured by judicial inequality, racism, discrimination, and hatred. When lives are taken, when voices are silenced, and when families fear for their children to leave their homes, our community suffers. Fostering a safe, respectful, inclusive, equitable, and non-discriminatory environment for every student and every employee is central to Tarrant County College's mission, which has never been as important as it is in this very moment. Like the thousands of instructors, advisors, counselors, and other professional staff who choose to commit their talents to TCC, I pursued a career in higher education because I believe education can and should be the answer to society's ills. Education can and should give people insight, context, and tools with which to be agents of positive social change. Education can and should serve as a cultural and social equalizer. Education can and should give people hope for better tomorrows for themselves and for their families. Education is essential. Those who provide it and those who seek it should feel that they are doing so in a safe environment, free of bigotry, discrimination, and persecution. In this moment and forever forward, we cannot let fundamental human values be politicized. Rather, we must stand together as a community's college and serve as a beacon of hope by exemplifying, along with our community supporters and partners, what inclusion really means. Together we stand, and together we can thrive. But words alone aren't enough. Actions matter. That's why TCC develops student and community designated sources to support and uplift those in need of help, hope, and guidance as they pursue their education or their careers. TCC resources can be found at the following website, tcc.edu/resources. Our message is simple. TCC is here to help you, to serve you, and to reassure you that together we can be agents of positive change. Together, we can continue to make a meaningful difference in our community and beyond. In these are tumultuous and unsettling times. We overcome fear, though, through education. We surmount social inequity through education. We survive and we thrive through education. Together, we stand for and with our community. Submitted by Chancellor Eugene Giovanni, Tarrant County College. I think this is a wonderful expression of our mission, especially considering our recent events and all of the barriers that our students face. And now we have other barriers, and we just got to stand by our students and do everything we possibly can to make sure that they overcome these barriers and achieve their own personal success. And I believe Dr. Morrison also has an accolade, and some others may comment. Dr. Morrison?
Second. I'm sorry. I needed to get unmuted, and I need to get to my statement. If you just give me 1 minute. Thank you so much. I certainly agree with and appreciate the Chancellor's statement, and I want to thank him for that. On that same vein, I would like to ask him to develop a institutional statement to present to the board at our next board meeting. And that would address that. I'm having difficulty. I made some notes and I'm having difficulty finding that at the minute. But if the Chancellor would do that. Mr. Heed, do you have a copy of what I gave you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Just give me a second then. It's going to take a minute. It's very important. So if you just
hold on 1 second while you're looking for him. Dr. Evans, we had you under accolades. Do you have anything further to add?
Again, I just want to thank our Chancellor, thank our board. I believe that we share the same kinds of sentiments that we heard from our Chancellor, and I appreciate him. I want to say to the listening public that I know him to be a man of integrity, and I believe that what we heard tonight comes from his heart. I've been with him in public and in private, and I appreciate his sentiments. And as Dr. Morrison stated already, I too, along with her and you too, Mr. President, I look forward to us even pressing forward as a college just to demonstrate and to show as a board where we stand with our students. So those are my final words. But again, Dr. G, I appreciate you, and I'm honored to know where you stand, sir.
And thank you, Dr. Evans. I certainly concur. And Mr. President, I have found my remarks that I would like to be precise in sharing.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Of course, many of us have heard the Chancellor say, it's always the right time to do the right thing. And in that vein, I would like to ask the Chancellor to develop an institutional statement for presentation at our next board meeting, which would address our commitment to creating and sustaining at TCC a safe, respectful, welcoming, equitable, and non-discriminatory environment for all. And as the Chancellor always says, all means all. In the spirit of word and deed being in alignment, we have a special opportunity here to put on paper what we stand for and support as an institution. I know that will require a bit of research and work and diligence, but you do that every day. And with your permission, Mr. President, I would ask that that be a part of our next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chancellor, anything else under college accolades?
No, I just want to thank the board members for their thoughtful comments and considerations, and we certainly will look forward to continuing to serve and meet your expectations, as well as our students in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Recent activities? No? Okay.
No, the list, nothing stands out. Sorry.
Okay, we will not have a closed session tonight. Our next meeting will be a work session meeting on August 13th, 2020, and followed by our board meeting on August 20th, 2020. And with no further business to be conducted, I'll move for adjournment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good job tonight.
Yep.